and ADHD coach. I'm thrilled to have you join me for part 3 of our 3-part Surviving the IEP Maze. So today's segment is about the IEP meeting. And with that meeting, we're looking at how to be prepared, how to collaborate, how to get what you want, and know that it's being supported as well. Must be this big storm coming across because I'm having a lot of technology issues. I think there's been some issues with the invite even going out. So I'll make sure that this is sent to everyone. And if you have any questions after that, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email, Judy at ADHDCoachConnect.com. Remember that you are all welcome to a complimentary consult. I invite you to like my Facebook and to be part of our Pathway to Hope Alive community. And we've got a lot of exciting things coming down the road, so I'm excited about 2017. But for now, let's move on to part 3. Okay, part 3. What are we going to look at? We talked a little about this. Approaching meeting. How do I prepare as a parent? How do you contribute and not just sit there and be told by the school personnel what's going to happen? How do we build that relationship, and how do we make changes? When do we make changes, and how do we ensure that this is effective and working? Once again, for those of you that have been with me before, I put out my little disclaimers that this is only for educational and informative purposes only. I am certainly not an attorney, not a parent advocate, I'm not a district representative. I represent neither side, but have experience on both sides. So it's very, very helpful. And remember, as a parent, there is a responsibility for you to read the laws, bring your own attorneys, talk to your own attorneys, and come up with your interpretations. Okay, so how do we prepare? First of all, and most importantly, you will find the schools are running sometimes by the seat of their pants. And please know that as I share some of this information, this is nothing against being a teacher. I was there. It is difficult to juggle a lot of things. Sometimes we don't get part 1 fast enough to get part 2 done with a little bit of lag time. So there are no pointing fingers. It's just what seems to happen quite a bit. It's important for you to set aside enough time in your day for the meeting. Schools are often running very, very, very close to deadline dates. Those deadline dates are their deadline dates, not yours as a parent. Let me repeat that. Their deadline dates are solely the school's deadline dates, not yours. So if they call you and tell you we have to have this next day, you're struggling with juggling what you have planned, getting out of work, getting someone to go with you, your answer can be, no, I can't do it that day. Here's some of my opening days and times. So the school has to meet certain deadlines, and those deadlines have to do with getting the parent invitation out, with getting a draft of the IEP, the 504, ahead of the scheduled meeting so you have a chance to look it over. Always ask for that draft so that they do get it done and you're not blindsided when you go into the meeting. So it's important you set aside enough time. It could last 45 minutes, it could last 3 hours, depending on your situation. Know your rights and the rights of your child. Look over the IDEA or look over Section 504. Read up on the websites. And at the end of my other two, I've always given out tons of links. Rights Law, understood.org, Parents Center Hub, special IEP process, all these kinds of links that you can Google will help you understand your jargon, understand where they're coming from, and understand, most importantly, your rights and the rights of your child. So as you come in to prepare, it's really, really important that you write down what you want to go through. You may have a school personnel that kind of takes over the meeting. He or she wants to get done because everyone has to go back to class, so they're under a time restraint. They're under a deadline restraint, and their ultimate goal is to review it with you, but to get you to sign, period. You want to make sure you discuss, bring up, address ideas, questions, the goals specifically for your child. You know your child. What worked before? What works at home? Share those with teachers. Most of them are very, very open to wanting to know how to reach your child and how they can format their classroom, the consequences, whatever it might be, that works for your child. So you want to make sure that these are written down and you look at that list, and again, not be dictated by the school, by the time, but that you make sure everything that you want to discuss is discussed. Be on time. Everybody's time is valuable. Honestly, I can remember many, many times sitting in an IEP meeting wondering, one, because I never heard from the parent as to whether they were coming, and secondly, they were late. So we had people out of class, people that had made trips from the central office, whatever it might be, everyone's time is valuable. So please be on time, notify your lead caseworker who's ever working this case to let them know, yes, I'll be there, and if there's a problem, to text or email them as soon as possible. Bring support. Doing this on your own can be tough. Unless you've been doing it a while and you understand the ropes, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you bring a spouse, that you bring a neighbor if they understand the situation, a coach like myself, a friend, a parent advocate. There are times when I go to these meetings with parents because I've been on the other side. I get it, but I'm still not the advocate. And if there's a situation where there are some struggles, some misunderstandings, you may need to hire that advocate. And many times I have referred people to that particular advocate, or one or two of the advocates, or about 5 or 6 of them in town here in Columbus, Ohio, that are extremely knowledgeable, they're wonderful, and effective for your child. When you are in the meeting, so we know how to prepare, and there is some preparation to it. Now, during the meeting, are you a participant or are you a spectator? Being prepared, first of all, is the first step to being able to be a participant. If you have not had a chance to read the IEP, if you've not had conversations with teachers, if you are coming in with what I call the 4-barrel shotgun, that there really hasn't been collaboration or communication before this meeting, and now you want to throw it at the teachers and the school personnel to tell what has happened and hasn't happened, it doesn't turn out to be probably the most effective meeting. Working with the school and the school understanding that you're working with them and vice versa is the most effective. So being prepared, first of all, to be a participant is very effective. And you know your child better than anyone else. You know what does work, and you are the fulcrum, if you will, of this IEP group or IEP team. It should be the parent. There should be an intervention specialist there. There should be possibly the counselor there. Other regular teachers, if they are also in the regular classroom, should be there. There are times when personnel from the central office might be there, special ed coordinator, psychologist, especially if the ETR is being discussed. So there should be a group of people that have been in contact with your child, have taught your child, and can provide truly some valuable information. So to be a participant, you need to be prepared. You know your child, bring those list of ideas, concerns, questions, comments, suggestions. And when you read the IEP, be sure that this is truly an IEP. And IEP stands for, let me get my little trusty pen out here. Let's just circle this. IEP stands for Individual Education Plan. An individual education plan is what it says, individual. It should have to do with the needs, the goals of your child. And many, many times, and there are times that it's necessary as an intervention specialist and a former intervention specialist, copying and pasting might be applicable. Certainly not through the whole thing. And many of the goals now that teachers have are what we call banked, or they're in a database that we can draw from. But they should also be modified and changed so that there is thought put into this, and it truly is your child's individual educational plan, not copied and pasted with other names in there, with his instead of her, if your child's a daughter. I've seen it happen so many times. So you want to make sure that there's been some good thought put into this, because it is truly their educational plan that is supposed to make the difference and put them on a level playing field with other people. Get as much information as possible in advance. So again, conversations should have occurred. Hopefully you're emailing teachers if there's concerns. Hopefully they're providing information if they're concerned. But don't wait for them. Make sure you do email them, find out where the challenges are. There's obviously was some reasoning to request testing for the IEP. So things should have popped up as flags to make note of and have information on. Prioritize what you want to talk about. In case you really do run out of time, you want to make sure the most important things are discussed and hopefully resolved. So make a priority list of what you'd like to make sure is discussed, and help set a collaborative tone for the meeting. Again, it goes back with, have there been conversations? Have you developed relationships with other teachers, with any of the administration staff? It is so valuable and fitting to have that relationship. And I used to have some very, very wonderful, wonderful parents who were, yes, in school quite a bit, yes, who emailed me quite a bit, but also recognized and respected the time, and we worked together to give that child the best environment, the best accommodations, and to make sure they were managed correctly. So how you set that tone, how you participate in that tone will help you not only at this IEP meeting, but for many, many, many months to come. Again, as you can see, I'm emphasizing this quite a bit because this is about the third time you've seen it. Come with prepared questions and suggestions for the document. Don't be pushed into decisions. So if you remember back when I started the webinar, schools are bound by deadlines. If they're being backed into a corner because they missed a deadline or they're cutting it very, very close, their ultimate goal is to have you sign it. If there's any minor changes, they can make quickly, but to sign it, push it on into its next phase. If you are not comfortable signing it, please do not be pushed into that or pushed into a decision that you're not sure about. This is your child's life. This is a key piece of it. We want to make sure that the IEP or the 504 is put into place for valuable and effective reasons. And do that, it has to be correct at that particular point in time. So if you're not comfortable, make sure you voice that you'd like to take it home. You'd like to get some time to go over it, to talk with a spouse or someone else about it, and that you will look at it within the next week and get it back. If the school misses that deadline of having it signed, they've actually made a deadline by having a meeting and discussing it. So there's some credence to that. Collaborating, as I mentioned, is extremely important. But I think I wanted to back up just a second to make a point on our previous slide of not being pushed into decisions. You may sign that document at a later date, as I mentioned, and you may change that document at a later date. IEP meetings are often held yearly, but if you see growth or lack of growth and need to make some changes, they can be changed at any time during the course of the year. It's not an intervention specialist's favorite thing to do, but it is legal. It's a living, what we call a living document. And if it needs to move in a different direction through addendums or something like that, then so be it. So you are quite comfortable before you sign it and quite comfortable before you make a decision. Okay, on the collaboration. How do we do it? Well, all teachers love it if you bring food or even a bottle of water or something like that to a meeting. It's always a favorite. It's an icebreaker. I have a parent who used to just come with all pizzas, and oh my God, it was fabulous. So the teachers are very, very appreciative of this, and more importantly, it is an icebreaker. Many of the teachers are just as nervous as you may be. So if you're not familiar with the process, with the meeting, I think you'd be surprised. If it's an experienced teacher who's done many of these, then usually you'll have a very effective meeting as well, and they're not going to be as nervous. Interestingly enough, one of the things I've done in the last 4 or 5 years since leaving the school system and starting this business is to mentor second-year teachers. And these are to help them become comfortable, to help teach them some differentiated instruction, whatever it might be. We're mentoring them. And the question is always, what is one of the scariest or makes you the most nervous in your teaching? And many, many of the second-year teachers reply that parent-teacher conferences or IEP meetings, when they have to come face-to-face with the parent, are extremely nerve-wracking for them. So just understand that there are many people who may be as nervous or even more nervous. And keep our focus on your child and how we can all work together to help him or her. When you're looking at an IEP, we want their IEP goals to be what we call SMART goals. So that's an acronym. S is specific, M is measurable, use action words, realistic, and time specific. An example would be of a non-SMART goal. My child, Rachel, will learn to improve her reading. Improve is measurable, but it's not an action word. There's no specific, except that we're talking about reading. Is it realistic? Well, improve to her and improve to me might be different than improve to you. And it's not time specific. We did not specify a time that it needs to happen. So to change that into a SMART goal, it may say something like, within 3 months up to June 1st, Rachel will increase or demonstrate that she may read or improve her reading from 20 words a minute to 40 words a minute. So now we're very specific. We are measuring her reading ability or fluency. We are using action verbs because she's going to demonstrate, and maybe we'll add to that by reading to the teacher or by reading out loud, very action oriented. It is realistic. So let's say within 3 months or 6 months, we can improve that reading from one number to another. And it's time specific. We gave a deadline. So it needs to have SMART goals. And most teachers have been drilled on these, but you may have some new teachers out there that are not comfortable and they may need to be tweaked a little bit. Again, here's be comfortable in signing. The living document can be changed at any time. We did talk about that. While you're managing the input of the IEP, which by the way, if you have the IEP meeting, it should be implemented as quickly as possible. I would ask how other teachers are going to be notified of it, and it should be by law in the teacher's hands, a copy of it and a copy of the accommodations as well. Develop valuable relationships by working with those teachers. How can you help? Communicate, dig deeper. When teachers do their progress reports for IEP goals, oftentimes there's not a great type of area where they can write in the functionality, the progress, etc. So you may not get enough detail. You need to ask for more detail. What is specifically and functionally occurring in the classroom? How is the support working? By having a teacher just say, yes, we give her accommodations every single day. Well, is Rachel using those accommodations? Is she afraid to stand out from anyone else in the classroom? If so, what are you doing to help her? Are we seeing changes? Who's the one who's managing that accommodation? There are many, many questions where you need to dig deeper in order to get the results and make sure you understand the process of what's being done. As you go through the year, continue to ask questions, stop in, meet with teachers, take a few minutes after school or during their study hall time or before school to meet with them, to check in, keep some of the work, have them show you some of the work, check on the homework and make sure you keep copies of that. You want to be able to make comparisons. Is this IEP working? Is your daughter getting the accommodations or modifications that she needs. Are they the correct ones? Are they being implemented? Who's doing it? Is it being done once a week? Is it being done every single day? They need to follow. Are the regular teachers following an IEP? So you don't want to wait on this. You want to stay on top of it. You have a copy in your hand so you know what should be happening, and have them be very specific in how the school is going to manage it. Support it, collaborate with them, and applaud them when it does happen. Teachers don't get much positive props during the year. So if you're seeing some great things happen and you see a great teacher who's really, really doing best practices and helping your child with that IEP and helping them build on those accommodations, applaud them. They need it, and they'll respond very positively to you. All right, well, we got this in within a half an hour. Remember that you do all have your one-on-one consult. Click here to schedule, or you can just email me at judy@adhdcoachconnect.com. This will be the end of our 3-part series. Hopefully you all received the recording. This will come out via YouTube within the next day or so as well. And if you have any other questions, I certainly would be open. I encourage you to spread the word, to document what you're seeing at home, if there's issues, and remembering that it's not necessarily just grades. If we've got an ADD or ADHD child, it can be those executive functions. Are they missing homework? Are they not bringing home homework? Are they unable to do it? Are they not turning it in? Those are all day-to-day processes, huge for their success. So the fact that they may be skimping by with better grades does not mean your child does not need a 504 or an IEP for some additional support. I've been thrilled to be able to bring you this 3-part How to Survive the IEP Maze. It is a maze for sure, and we'll continue to provide you information through my Facebook, through my email listing, through programs that we have coming out, and I thank you all for everything that you do to help your child, and wish you the best of luck for the rest of the year, through the summer. And by the way, I have a summer program coming out. You may register and save your seat now for a mere, I think, $30, which is refundable, but not after May 15th. Seats go fast. It lasts June, July, and August, and it is on executive functions along with several other things. So check my Facebook. I'm also going to send some additional information out for you. But my Summer Sales of Strength program has been extremely popular and effective over the last 2 or 3 years, and we're bringing it back to you again. So if you're interested, it's a great way to get your child toes in the water to see if coaching works for them, and to give them some catalyst on how to learn effectively that makes sense to their brain. Thanks so much, and I appreciate y'all. Take care.